Hello, everybody. I'm Kipp Snow. I'm the director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Kipp. This is Mike Singer, Community Manager, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. Welcome to the Shipwatchers podcast, number 24?
24. 24.
24. We said we were going to figure out if this was a half a year because we skipped a couple.
I think
I could go back on YouTube and not record. Anyway.
You did tell me to go back and listen to episode 1.
Did you?
That was rough. I cannot believe that we've come this far.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty bad. I was like in my basement with the kitchen cabinets and lighting was horrible.
It's all right.
Because I really wanted to get this started, and I really didn't care. And I'm like, I'll do it anywhere. I don't care. Let's just get started. And there you have it. So.
To the audience, if you think we're rough now, you should go back to episode 1.
Yeah, take a trip back, man. Dang.
All right.
So I wanted to say real quickly, if you're listening to this or watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell to be alerted for new podcasts as they come available.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Normally we get right into our shipping update, and we do have some updates with that. But first, we have a special guest this episode. We've had some guests to come on the podcast in the past. We had Reverend Josh and
Alex.
Alex, yeah, absolutely. So we've got a special guest today, don't we?
We do, and it's funny. It came together so fast. It just kind of happened. So Nan from Sail Baltimore will be joining us. They are the people who help arrange all the ship visits for tourists at the Inner Harbor. So that'll be really exciting. Yeah.
So is this the which ships are we talking about? Is this the Chesapeake and the Torsk and isn't there a Coast Guard?
Oh, no, not Historic Ships Baltimore.
Okay,
so,
good.
Not the lighthouse ship and the sub, the Torsk and the Coast Guard ship. We're not talking about the ones that are here all the time that you can go down and visit whenever they're open.
Oh,
we're talking about the big, like, tall ships and even the military ships that come in from out of town for like a quick weekend or maybe a week-long visit, and people can tour, and they're on that west wall where Harbor Place is, like parallel to the Constellation, if you will. Mm-hmm. And people can come visit. So that's what we're talking about.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that was clear for everybody. Good.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and invite our guest in, and we'll go ahead and have a conversation. I think you've got some questions and things.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk to her.
All right, everybody. We have our special guest in here. Mike, you want to do an introduction?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So today we have Nan from Sail Baltimore. So, Nan, thanks so much for joining us on the Shipwatchers podcast.
Well, thanks to the Shipwatchers for having us. I'm an avid follower, so I know all about you guys, and we'll get a little bit of a chance to talk about us.
Great, great. So fully classified as a lurker because I don't see.
Absolutely.
Okay, as long as we're doing true confessions here. Okay. So you're with Sail Baltimore. Can you give us an overview? I mean, I think a lot of people know what Sail Baltimore does, but generic. But can you just kind of give us an overview of what Sail Baltimore does?
Well, Sail Baltimore is a small nonprofit. We're a registered 501c3, and we work on behalf of the city, so to speak, to bring the visiting ships into Baltimore Harbor. That's our main mission. Associated with all of that comes along an education component that we try to bring in children to have them from different schools around the area when we have ship visits to help keep that part of our mission moving forward. And then Sail Baltimore provides the logistics, planning, programming, follow through while the ships are here from the day they plan to arrive till the day they leave. So,
wow, that sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like we could talk about this for an hour
at least
just with you. So, and so I've got a little list of things that I want to talk about here, but I'm going to call an audible because I don't know that I knew about the education component. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, and it doesn't always work because, as you can guess, each ship is a little bit different, and each ship has a different agenda when they're here. But when the ships arrive, we try to work with a local school or organization, homeschool. It's been a whole host of different organizations that we work with through the years, to have some of the kids come on board and actually have an opportunity to see the ship, to see what goes on especially the tall ships and the Navy ships, because those are particularly intriguing to kids, and to have them meet the crew, to get a chance to maybe share some of their culture. A lot of times, especially this summer, we had 6 tall ships here this summer from South America. And we have a huge Hispanic population in the city. And it creates a whole opportunity for those kids to actually, and not only the kids, but the big kids, the parents as well, to get a chance to appreciate a little piece of home.
Absolutely.
So, that's really cool.
And so they get to not only share their culture with the rest of Baltimore City, but they get to enjoy it themselves.
That sounds great. So I did pull up the Sail Baltimore website, and I found your impact page here. So I'm just going to blow through some stats here, which I wanted to ask, and I actually tried to ask Patrick. Now, 10 people listening to the podcast know exactly who I'm talking about. But so I kind of wanted to have this, and that didn't work out. And then I'm just kind of going around, and I found, so during a typical year, approximately 100,000 visitors take part in Sail Baltimore's free public programs. Sail Baltimore visiting ships program supports $1.2 million in augmented visitor spending each year. They have arranged ship visits to Baltimore from 38 countries during large-scale events such as OpSail 2000 or Star Spangled Celebration 2012. Economic impact to the area is immense, often bringing more than $100 million in economic impact for event. I mean, and it keeps going.
Right.
And so wow, that sounds like an awful lot of impact. Gee, Nan, your organization must have a whole group of salaried folks on staff to make this all happen, right?
No.
Oh.
Well, I tell you what we do have. We have an awesome and very dedicated group of board members, volunteer board members. They run somewhere between 20 and 30 board members at any given time that are active participants in the organization. Our board members were particularly good about how we recruit our board members and bring people in. And we really do expect our board members to participate. They're just not there on paper only. So I'm very proud of that. I am, at this point, the sole employee, and I rotate between part-time and full-time depending on what we have going on, just so that, because I did say small nonprofit, and that part of it goes along with the programming. So we depend a lot on volunteers. For larger events, we collaborate with organizations like Living Classrooms, like Waterfront Partnership. So, it's a real city, it's a joint effort around the city and the state. This past Fleet Week, I would guess that probably anywhere from 20 to 30 different organizations participate in that. So, we certainly love taking credit for all the ships that come in And on an individual basis, it's primarily us. But then when we expand it out and we do the larger events, it's definitely an all hands on deck, all around the city and state effort.
So that just leads me into my next thought, which I don't have written down. But so, can you give us a little background? Like, how did Sail Baltimore start? Or let me say, so how did the ship visits happen? Because I imagine there wasn't Sail Baltimore at some point. And who was doing that? Was it just a person? Was it just a bunch of people? Was it somebody at the city? And how did this get started? Can you talk about that for a little bit?
So Sail Baltimore was formed in 1975 and coordinated under then Mayor Schaefer to coordinate and plan and prepare for the 1976 bicentennial. And at that point, so they were looking at probably about 11 ships at that point to bring in. I think that was the number during that visit. But he was a group of folks that were dedicated to making things happen around the harbor. I think there was some twinkling about the harbor place at that point, getting all that started back then, and the dream of making the inner harbor area a place where people wanted to be. Because if you think back that far down into the 70s, Harbor Place didn't look anything like it even looked like, before. So
right, that whole area really didn't have much.
Right, it was old.
There wasn't much
Ugly
there
Piers, and McCormick Spice was down there. If everybody remembers that far back. So a really group of dedicated folks formed the organization. We were originally formed as Baltimore Operation Sail. And so we fell in line with all the Operation Sail organizations along the East Coast. And later in the 90s, we had to, for trademark reasons, we had to change our name. So we still are officially chartered as Baltimore Operation Sail, but we traded Sail Baltimore. So, and that group of dedicated folks, there are still some of those folks hanging around. And I tell you what, they had a wonderful idea that makes great stuff happen for the city. So,
wow,
if you have that many people who are volunteering to help, and for so long, that really says something about what the organization is and the impact. So if Mike's rattling off a bunch of financial and economic metrics, I mean, you can see what the impact is, but it also says how your organization is run, and the people who are being there for year over year helping to support it really says a lot.
Yeah, we have some folks that have been on the board for quite a long time. I can speak from that myself. I came on the board in 1995 and helped as a volunteer for many years, and then stepped into some leadership programming, starting with visiting ships and working into becoming an officer of the organization. I retired a couple years ago, and there was an opening for an executive director, and I said, I think I'll do that. So it's
very cool.
It's been that, but the organization itself has promoted and programmed ship visits like 76, 86, 92, 2000, Celebration, Star Spangled. Keep going. And then, the Navy came to us and wanted to do Fleet Weeks in Baltimore. If you'll remember, the first Fleet Week was in 2016, following the 2014 War of 1812 events.
Right.
So that was just a huge bonus for us, and that's a biannual event that we coordinate primarily with Living Classrooms.
That's so cool, because I don't think that I realized that was the first one here.
2016 was the first Fleet Week.
See, you are just teaching us all kinds of stuff. This is awesome.
So we're very fortunate in that we have a beautiful harbor that just we hope that we will just continue to keep ships coming. And you mentioned economic impact. One of the things that folks don't consider is the expense of bringing the ship to to Baltimore. And then not only the expense of bringing the ships here to the ship and the resources that are required to make that happen, but also what the visitors and the sailors spend. And I will tell you that the sailors love to shop when they're here. So that the economic impact of their visit when they come is pretty interesting. I don't have. It's hard to get exact numbers, but I can tell you the number of TVs and computers and bicycles and golf clubs that I see go on board when they go shopping.
Funny, that's cool. Hey, so I wanted to tell you my little tie-in to Sail Baltimore would be for 1976. So I'm out on the harbor with my dad in our little boat, crabbing and fishing off of Fort McHenry, and we would stop crabbing and fishing and escort the ships in our little 16-foot runabout. Cool. My dad was a cop that walked the beat on Light Street, and so he winds up bringing me home a Coast Guard Eagle poster, which actually hung in my bedroom. Now, fast forward 50 years or so, and I'm running this Shipwatchers organization. I live on the water, and I get to see the Eagle come here and get repairs, every couple of years. It's kind of surreal.
Yeah, that's very cool. And we hear lots of stories like that from folks. And it's pretty amazing when we have a ship visit. And a lot of times I'll be down there talking to visitors when they come aboard. And every now and again, especially if there's a little line, get a chance to talk to them and find out why they're there. What brought you down? What made you come down? And folks will seek you out sometimes to tell you their story. I just kind of wish I could carry around a little, that little recording device, that phone thing, and think to turn it on to capture those. Because it would be really fun to capture some of those stories.
That would be cool. And you could have, if you could get, if you could give folks permission, and then, maybe you wouldn't keep the recording or put that on your website, but then maybe you could have somebody listen and transcribe, just and have have like 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 paragraphs on the website of people saying, wow, I went to Baltimore and here's my history, and I went and saw this ship, and it was, that would be
right.
A nice little story.
There you go. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll have to figure out a way to make that work.
Cool. That would be great. So you were talking about expenses and everything that it takes, how much it costs for a ship visit. So without going into everything and getting down to the penny, can you give us, like a sky high view of like 5 or 6 things, like, I've got to rent this, or I've got to pay for tugboats, or there's security, or what? I mean, can you give us like 5 things of how much they cost or anything like that?
It's really hard to put a single dollar number because each one is sure. So different. Military ship, of course, is very different than a tall ship. I will tell you that the competition from the other cities is very high. So, we have competition in Boston and New York and Norfolk, Charleston, Miami, along the East Coast, just to give an example. So expenses for these ships, especially the tall ships, which we call our little prima donnas, they're the ones that draw the most attention sometimes. They anticipate when they come that because they're in such high demand, they don't really look to pay for a lot. So we're very fortunate in the fact, and dollar numbers are a little hard to come by because we have such good in-kind support. So we have in-kind support from the city, from the pilots, line handlers, water and sewage from the city, water and sewage from some of our sponsors, trash pickup, fenders, fuel delivery. I mean, just you can kind of roll through that. But right. So if you tried to add it up, I would say maybe about 15,000 per ship. If you were going to put a dollar number on it, some more than others,
Wow.
depending on where they are in the harbor
Sure.
and what their
Sure.
requirements are and how long they're here, and
Right.
what they're doing when they're here. So, some of them require a lot more support than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Mm-hmm.
come with their own agenda and their own little pocketbook that they can fund it. Others not so much. Some of the countries don't
Hmm.
have the resources, so they look for more in kind. Military ships, of course, the military ships do pay for their own resources when they're here. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit of each visit is very different. So it's hard to put a
So
solid dollar number on it.
right. Oh, sure, sure. I got you. That's great. I appreciate that. So you guys have a fundraiser coming up.
We do. Sure. So it's called Portside Party, and that's
Mm-hmm.
been our standard fundraiser for us for quite a while. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we are hosting, actually, the Bayside Cantina is hosting
Mm-hmm.
us for the fundraiser, and it's November the 14th from 6 to 9. And we are really lucky that, as I mentioned, we have some great board members. Excuse me. And our board members are going to make some really fun and creative baskets for raffle.
Oh,
So
nice.
it could be anything. We have had some pretty amazing baskets that come, pet baskets, and they're not all. Some are nautical themed, and some are for kids. Um,
You don't mean like Toto, like in a basket
no,
from
not
like the
Toto in the
Wizard of Oz.
basket.
You know,
Things for
that's not what we're talking about.
things
Okay.
for pets. Um, nice selections of wine, along with some restaurant gift cards, things like special bourbon, maybe some cigars thrown in there, and then some really creative ones that come along that we receive sometimes some really fun little gifts from the ships. So we try to
Mm-hmm.
incorporate those back into some of our fundraising when possible, and share some of our good wealth with our friends that join us at the fundraiser, so we can share some of the things that come with the ships when they're here. So it's
Cool.
a fun evening. We'll have music, we'll have a silent live auction, and just some general good camaraderie with some great people who love supporting what we do.
Awesome. Sounds great. I will. I will see if I can make it.
We hope you can. The more the merrier.
So thank you. So tell us about 2026. So there's this big, huge thing that's happening. What
Right.
Tell us about that? What is it? And like, oh my god, like how in the heck do you arrange all this stuff? And tell me a little bit maybe about the competition thing. Does that come into it? And that.
Not so much for 2026. There's a consortium of 5 cities: New York,
Mm-hmm.
Boston, Baltimore, Norfolk, and New Orleans, that have been working
Mm-hmm.
together for about 2 years now, a little over 2 years, to coordinate with, more on the side of the tall ship event initially, to bring
Mm-hmm.
tall ships to celebrate America's 250th birthday.
Cool.
So our time frame in Baltimore is from June the 25th through July the 1st. And we're all
Mm-hmm.
working together to bring these ships around. Um, some will go to New Orleans. Most will start in Norfolk, and of course make their way up the bay. And it'll be a combination for us of a Navy Fleet Week, a U.S. Navy Fleet Week. So we'll have both a U.S. Navy Fleet Week and a tall ships event together. So
Wow.
if you look back to maybe 2000, 2006, or
Mm-hmm.
2012, 2014, it'll be a scale of events that it'll be at least that size or larger. So it's going to be a big event. Blue Angels,
Mm-hmm.
we hope. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We
Yeah.
should find out soon. Um,
Oh, that would be amazing.
yeah, we're hoping for a full air show. And then again, also with the last couple of years for Fleet Week, instead, because we haven't had a full air show, we've had the flyovers. I think you saw also the F-35. If you didn't see it, you heard it. um,
Oh,
um, but
did we
but
ever?
also something similar to that as well. So it's going to be the full 9 yards as far, it's going
Wow.
to be a wonderful, amazing event that is still in planning stages. So we have a long way to go.
All right. So are you stressed out already?
No, I'm not stressed out. No, not stressed out. We have such an amazing team in Baltimore. I will tell
It's
you,
so cool.
working with the other cities, we're all a little different. New York's gens up for, they have a fleet week every year, and they have a whole organization that does that. And Boston has a commercial company that puts their fleet weeks and tall ships events together. We're a nonprofit. Norfolk has a quasi nonprofit, and Fest Events does both their tall ships events and all their festivals downtown. And New Orleans is Chamber of Commerce. So we're all a little different. We all work differently. We all come at it differently. But our role in Fleet Week and our role in the upcoming larger events is really our basic role is to manage the ships. So Sail Baltimore works with the Navy and the other vessels, all the tall ships and the visiting sea service vessels that come, to make sure that they have what they need. So we work with the Navy, we work with them and the agents, the ship's agents, that work with them, and to make sure, most of the agents are not from Baltimore. They don't know where the resources are. They don't know who to talk to. So we're kind of that clearinghouse for them. And then with the tall ships, we work directly with the embassy and the attaches to make sure that they're getting the best visit experience that they can in Baltimore. A lot of that is very hard driven by the countries. We're very fortunate here that we're the closest deep water port to DC, and all the embassies love to host experiences, I'll call them, on board the ship for all of their folks, whether it be business or just to be able to show off the beauty of the ship that they have. So they'll host a reception or they'll host a business meeting. A lot of times they'll highlight what resources they like to share from their country. If you'll remember, we had the Ecuadorian ship here for quite a long visit this summer, and they brought us some amazing chocolate, and I learned that the Panama hats are not originally from Panama; they're originally from Ecuador. So I learned something new every time a ship comes in.
That's cool.
So yeah, so it really does. It's a huge expanse, and we're also working from a Sail Baltimore perspective. We kind of dip our toes into a few different areas, and we're trying to work with the city and the state to make sure that we can keep the area in the inner harbor clear so that the ships can come and go. So we're working with the city and the state on a dredging initiative. If your folks didn't know, the Federal Channel ends at Domino Sugar.
Oh, we know that.
So anything inside Domino Sugar is the responsibility of the city and the state. So we have to. Yeah. We're kind of spearheading some work to be able to get some of that work done.
Wow, that
interesting.
That in itself sounds like quite the undertaking.
And I am not a dredging expert by any means. I've learned more than I ever cared to know about it. But we have some folks on our board, as I mentioned. We have a great board, and I can't say it enough. And those folks are heavily engaged with that part of it. We have some engineers that talk dredging language much better than me. So maybe that's a whole little podcast in itself.
I sold. All right. Let's see. What number? What number don't we have reserved? Number 43, Kipp.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. We'll just add that to the research department's list.
Yeah, the research department.
Right.
So give us the date for 2026 again, please.
For Baltimore, it's June the 25th through July the 1st. So with the number of ships that we're anticipating, some may come a little early, some may leave a little. We may have to buffer that a little bit on either side.
Sure.
But I'm gonna I can throw out to you the dates for all the cities, just in case some of your listeners are going to be traveling or have friends and family in other places.
Sure.
In New Orleans, it's going to be as early as it's May the 28th through June the 1st, because they have a long way to come around. Anybody that's going to New Orleans. And then for Norfolk is June the 19th through June the 24th. And for folks that are familiar with Norfolk, they generally have a Harbor Fest, a big festival in June. They're combining all of that together with the Tall Ships event and the Navy event that's going to happen in Norfolk during that time frame. And their excuse me, their area of coverage is going to be all of Hampton Roads, so it'll go all the way up to Cape Charles.
Wow!
So they've got quite a big expand. I think it's 12 or 13 areas that they're covering. So that's going to be a big event down there in Norfolk. And then for us in Baltimore, we're June the 25th through July the 1st, and we hope to include Fells Point, Canton, Under Armour area, of course, North Locust Point, and down around to Baltimore Peninsula, and anywhere else we can find some spare docks, because we're going to need them.
Right.
So if you know of any hidden gems over there, let us know. You guys kind of keep out there. New York, of course, is going to be the Piece de Resistance. They're going to be the International Naval Review in New York, and that'll happen on 4th of July. So they're the 4th through the 8th. Vessels will arrive a little bit, in and out through those couple days between us and them. And that's a combination of New York and New Jersey. That's a magnificent event. If anybody wants to go, schedule your room now, because they'll all be sold out by then. That's also the same time frame as the World Cup stuff that's going to be happening in New York. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit crazy.
Did they do that on purpose?
I don't know.
And are they not? I mean,
I'm not sure. Well, if we had hosted, it would have overlapped with our time frame too, because it's a long time frame for the World Cup stuff. But sadly, we're not doing that in Baltimore. And then Boston is July the 11th through the 16th. And there'll be some ancillary events along some of the smaller cities, but they won't be the big events like that. Some of the smaller cities will be doing lots of stuff as well. But these are the 5 cities where the major tall ship and naval vessels will congregate.
Wow.
So
how hard was it to, just for the 5 cities or whatever, to come up with a calendar?
It took a little bit of juggling, but we knew the meat of, we worked around 4th of July and kind of made it work backwards from there. So it took a few juggles, because we had a little bit of a gap originally that the tall ships weren't happy about, a little bit longer gap. Now it might be a little too short a gap, but we'll make it all work. But it really, we have all worked together. The group of folks that I've had the privilege of working with, we've all worked together on events. I've worked with them since 2000 or before on events. It's pretty much the same folks that we've been working with, so it makes it easy. We all kind of know each other, and we know what the expectations are. So that makes it easy. It makes it a little easier. So there's a lot of respect there.
That's awesome. That's really cool. How about this? Have the way you go about making these arrangements, it used to be just emails or phone calls, and now you're like, how long has it been since you've been doing stuff like this? Like you do like a Zoom and get everybody can see each other and talk to each other. I mean, is that kind of a newish thing, and does that make it easier? How do you like that?
We definitely, all of our meetings for our organization are hybrid meetings. So we do, our board meetings are hybrid meetings, so that we can have folks that can't make it to sit in a room. It's almost, COVID kind of helped us all out with that.
Right.
And for the organizational side of putting together big events like that, it's invaluable because if you look at the map, we're coming from New Orleans, Boston, New York, Norfolk. Norfolk is not that far, but it's still 4.5 hours away if you have to drive there. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so we actually have a meeting with the Navy in Norfolk on Monday. No, that's in DC. I'm sorry, not in Norfolk, in DC on Monday. But so folks do travel in to do meetings in person because that's valuable as well. But we can pick up a phone and do a Zoom or a Teams meeting in 5 minutes. Right,
Sure.
that and doing things like this, like doing a podcast with your organization or with other organizations that work on along the waterfront. It helps us all kind of just get a little bit closer together in something that we all love and cherish, and we all know we love the Chesapeake, so we just kind of we have to share it with Norfolk, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
Take it.
So I know you were talking about expenses, and we talked about how much things cost. So where does your donations, or where does the money come from? Obviously you have a fundraiser we already talked about, but maybe beyond that.
Well, we do work on a pretty thin schedule of funding, but we're very
Hmm.
lucky. We do get a little stipend from the city, and
Hmm.
we have some generous donors, so that's pretty good. Um, we have gotten in the past and planning for the future too. We have a couple. We work on grants, so along with that,
Good.
as a nonprofit, we apply for grants around the city. Um, and then the largest part of our fundraising component is a little fundraiser like the one we're going to have coming up in a few weeks, and then event management. When we work on a big event, we will get an administrative cost that comes back to us on that. So we're very
Sure.
fortunate that we have great folks that we can pull in, and that helps us out to keep the ball rolling. It's certainly not easy, as anybody knows who runs a small business or a small nonprofit. Just keeping the lights on is always a challenge, and
Hmm.
and we do it as efficiently as possible. So
If one of our listeners or if somebody wants to just donate, can they do that? And if so, how what is
it
that
is just so
process?
darn easy. You just go to our website. It's
There you go.
sailbaltimore.org. Make sure you do the .org, not the .com. And there is a donate
Mm.
button right there on the top page.
Right up at the top in the right. It's a little blue arrow, kind of. Okay.
And we love donations. We also love volunteers, for especially for the big events. And for an event like Fleet Week, we probably need 300 to 400 volunteers. And like I said, it's just not us. We are a cog in that wheel. And there are a lot of
Hmm.
other organizations that are involved there, and we all work together. So we all share volunteers and work specifically. Our volunteers primarily are liaisons with the ship, and that's kind of the best job you can get. You do have to spend
I
a little
have
time.
heard that.
You have to spend a little time standing out in the sun, some days, or the rain, or whatever's happening. But you're the liaison with the ship. So between the ship and our organization, so you are the first person that they see when they come into to port, and
Man,
that's always
how
a
cool is that?
real joy. So like when we do a regular ship visit, we're the first folks that they see when they come in, other than their embassy, of course, and
Hmm.
we host a welcome ceremony. And we do it a little differently than some cities. The captains like to come in and do what they call courtesy calls, where they would like to talk with the mayor or the governor or some city officials. And rather
Hmm.
than the captains having to spend their time figuring out how to make appointments to get to see somebody, we have put in place a welcome ceremony when they arrive, and we bring all those folks to them. So we'll
Ah.
have a representative from the state, from the city, from the Coast Guard, from the Navy, from the local community, wherever the ship is going to be docked. If it's downtown, it'd be somebody maybe from Harbor Place. If it's in Fells Point, from the Fells Point community. if it's a Under Armour or somebody from the Locust Point community, and so on. Kind of try to keep the community engaged, and that gives everybody a chance to actually really welcome the captain and have a little time to talk about Baltimore and what how much we appreciate them bringing their ship here, because it's a big endeavor. They're coming from all over the world.
Very cool.
Really cool.
So
very cool. And to know that, I've been seeing this happen here in town. I'm a Baltimore boy. I, born and grew up here, and been out on the water with my dad ever since I can remember. And so, I've been watching this happen for decades myself. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's quite a process, and it's really kind of interesting and fun to engage with the ships. And if you come and do a visit, I always tell folks, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, there may be a little bit of a language issue sometimes, but usually you can figure that out with some hand signals and some slow communications. It works out great, and you get to learn so much from the more questions you ask. A lot of times, the more information you'll get from the crew, because they're probably just a little bit shy as well. They're a little scared to try English, and if you're not speaking Spanish or Romanian or Greek or whatever they happen to be that day, it really shows the love and caring that comes with them being here.
Cool, very cool. So real quickly, so you and I were talking a little bit offline, and you were talking about a ship that had a line that went around the harbor. Can we cover that a little bit? That sounds like such a cool story.
Sorry?
Was it the Peruvian ship?
Oh, right, yes. The tall ship, the La Union from Peru, was here for the first time in the spring, and it's a relatively new ship, less than 6 years old, I think. And
wow.
It's huge. It's the largest ship in South America. It was raining the day they arrived, and they had they wanted to blow out all the stops. So they had Peruvian horses on the promenade. They had dancers on the promenade. They had all kinds of great fun things.
And they
arranged all that to have that here. Their PR folks did that. And then they actually even had a little storefront a little pop-up that they opened up inside Harbor Place. And the lines were unbelievable. The harbor was packed like I haven't seen it packed in a long time. And the lines were all the way around to the World Trade Center almost every day. They were here. Most of the time for the ship visits, in a weekend, if they're here on a weekend, it's harder when they're here during the week if it's not in the summer.
Sure.
When everybody's on vacation time. But most of the time, especially if it's a weekend, there's usually 5,000 to 6,000 folks that visit on a regular basis. And especially depending on where they are, if they're in either Fells Point or at the Inner Harbor, they usually get a really good showing of visitors that come. And it's free. That's the one thing that we have maintained all along. Some cities do charge to visit the ships. We ask the ships when they come in return for free dockage if they would please open to the public. And I don't think we haven't had anybody tell us no yet. So far, so good. And that's everything from the big tall ships and the Navy ships, foreign and domestic Navy ships, the sea service vessels, schooners, special craft. I mean, we ask the same of everybody. The biggest part of that is it's kind of I would call it a little covert education program, is where no matter what you do, when you come on board, you're going to learn something. So,
there you go.
The education programming part is sometimes baked into the visit, because you're always going to learn when you come on board one of these ships. And I very seldom ever see people walk off where they're not smiling. So that's
so cool.
That's the other part of it. Is it's a fun experience. It's free for families, which is hard to find these days. And they are always more than generous about, the Guayas from Ecuador that extended their stay. They had a generator problem. They could not leave. They
Oh,
were with us for
right.
22 days, and that's I think it's almost a record. I don't think we've had too many ships that have been here that
Yeah,
long.
because did they get a generator or did they need a part?
Well,
I
it
forget
wound up
what.
being more of a part, but it needed to be lifted onto the ship. It was a sizable component. And
Wow.
but they every day they were here, they played music and they hosted folks on board. It didn't matter if it was raining or hot. They did it, and
And I would just like to
Wow.
point out this ship was in town for 22
yeah.
days.
Hmm.
This guy, ship watchers, admin guy, community manager, was not there.
Ah,
All right. So we're gonna have to just take this embroidery off of here.
well, you just have to make up for it next time. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so some of the ships come and go. We had the first tall ship. The Cisne Bronco came from Brazil, and she was one of the first few vessels that came through when the bridge was opened. So
Oh,
that was
right.
kind of, we were holding our breath, it's
Right.
that terrible tragedy, and of course everybody worked so amazingly wonderful to make all that happen. I mean, every
That was
person that worked in that team should, I don't know what kind of kudos they get, but they should get them all. Um, just did an amazing job. And with the pilots and the Coast Guard and the Army Corps folks, managed to help us work it out so that they could come through and do a visit. So
yeah.
that was
Did
pretty
you
neat.
catch the one podcast where we went into in detail about how they talked to the pilots, and like, okay, what do you need? And the pilots would go out of their way to make sure that they were clear. Like, we need this much, you know? And so there were realistic expectations about how much they really needed for whatever size ship, when we were just trying to open it for the first time, and maybe what was 30 and then 35 and then 40 and then the different widths. And so they were very forthright in educating us on what was really needed. And so that really helped the Army Corps of Engineers to be able to, hit a reachable goal within a certain amount of time, because they weren't talking about um, likes or nice to haves. They were talking about, okay, if you want this is what we have to have
Right.
to get to that point. So it was a really interesting.
Well, we
Um,
went through a lot of that we had a couple of ship visits right after, and
mhm.
working with, and the ships were extremely grateful that we could make it all work out. It was a little bit of a challenge because we had to change schedules. I mean, we have to coordinate line handlers. Well, we have to coordinate water. It has water and sewage have to be connected and disconnected, and yeah, then you have
Right.
to have the
Oh,
line handlers have to be on station in time. Pilots have to be available. Tugs have to be available. So all of that has to all work at the same time, and during that time frame,
yeah,
it,
not really a whole lot of arranging. Yeah.
it was a little unpredictable as to what was going to happen. So, I just am so overly grateful to everybody that works with us, in those worlds that kind of help make it
Hmm.
all work out, because we were very pleased that we were able to host the ships, and it wouldn't have happened without all that cooperation.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's it's
That's
it's a pretty
great.
it's a pretty amazing feat that happened after all that. And just with the summer program, we didn't even know if there was going to be a fleet week. So
Right.
if you'll remember that the fleet week were the first really big ships to come in after they opened the bridge. So that was a definite push to make that happen. The work that everybody does to bring that event together,
Hmm.
is pretty darn overwhelming, I think.
Well, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like the cooperation is is amazing, and certainly everybody loves a tall ship, right?
It's hard not to like them. They certainly are pretty. That's what stole my
right
heart a million. It seems like a million years ago now. I
there you
I
go.
volunteered with the Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race, and it's been uphill ever since.
Right, right. So let's show the flyer again for your fundraiser, the Portside Party. Fall into fun with us Thursday, November 14th, 6 to 9, the Bayside Cantina. Now, if folks can buy tickets on your website, is that
Yes,
right?
if you go, you'll see the calendar portion where you're able to click. There's a calendar that's kind of
Oh, here.
midway on the screen, and that should be the
Okay.
next event up. You got the impact statement. There you
Yeah.
go. So there's the calendar. If you click on the November 14th date, that should take you to
Mm-hmm.
the location, and you can go right there and
Ah,
buy tickets.
there we are.
And if you click on that, you can not only buy single tickets, but you can buy a table of 10 if you like.
Wow.
So
Like if
a
you
little
have
discount there.
more friends than Kipp and I have.
So we're happy. And if none of that works, there's a phone number on there. If you call the phone number, I'll be happy to walk you through. We can take your money any way you like.
All right. Very
So
cool.
appreciate all
Well,
that.
Nan, we really appreciate you joining us this evening to tell us all about what Sail Baltimore does for the Baltimore and Maryland community. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
spending
both
some
for the
time with us.
opportunity, and thanks for what you all do, because it's pretty darn amazing. I enjoy following you all as well.
Wow, that was a great interview there.
Yeah.
I knew I'm pretty familiar with the Sail Baltimore and their organization and what they're doing with Fleet Week and bringing the tall
Mm-hmm.
ships in.
Right.
But just I didn't, and I kind of imagined that there was some logistical things that went with it, but I didn't know it was to that extent. So it was really cool to hear what all was going on with them.
Right. And then the different firsts, like the first ships to come, or the first time a ship had been here, and when was the first Fleet Week, and gosh, we learned stuff just talking to Nan from Sail Baltimore. That's great stuff.
Yep. All right, why don't we go ahead and get back into everything? Got some shipping updates for this week.
Yeah. So let's get back into our normal Seagirt trends. We track the truck transactions. Things are a little different because it doesn't make sense. Is this right? It's only the second week since the strike. Can that be right?
Yep.
It doesn't seem right. It seems like it was so much longer ago.
Yep.
Anyway, so last week the daily average for truck transactions was 3,240 a day. Well, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. Just this last week ending the 19th, was 3,084 truck transactions per day. That's average, total of 5 days divided by 5. And then so far this week, 3,370, 3,496, 3,436.
That's going to be a strong average number then this week.
Yeah, there's if we look on the schedule, there's a good bit happening at Seagirt. And then here's an interesting thing. And if you're not closely following what's happening on marine traffic or what's happening on the camera, the Stream Time Live Baltimore Port live stream, that's on our website that you can look at. So there was a ship called the SSI Defiant that came to town 27 days ago, a smallish bulker coming to town like most of the empty bulkers come into town to pick up coal. And somehow they found a leak. Somebody spotted a leak. Okay. And so it goes into the anchorage, which is the inner anchorage, which is right off of Seagirt, which is mandated by the Coast Guard. I'm pretty sure this is correct, that it's a 24-hour anchorage. You come in, you get out. They were there for 27 days, Kipp.
Wow.
27 days. It's supposed to be 24 hours. So what I've heard is that they finally made the repairs, but it would only leak when they would start it up. So they would make the repair and they would try to get going and then would leak again. And I just heard this from, one of our people that work at the port.
Sure.
And it just left today after 27 days. And so, I don't know what's happening, but maybe the Coast Guard said, okay, you guys got this fixed. We're not going to have you fill up with like tons of coal until, you're 40 some feet in the water and then have another problem.
Right.
So have a nice day and go get yourself straight and come back later. I don't know. I'm surmising, but
okay.
Yeah. So you have some.
I have some breaking news, I think.
All right, hit me. What do you got?
So on October the 16th, there was a publication on the Federal Register that, make sure that I have the wording on this, that according to a verified notice on the Federal Register, Norfolk Southern and CSX have entered into a trackage rights addendum to their master trackage rights agreement for track usage. And this addendum is going to allow CSX to reroute double stack rail cars around the Howard Street Tunnel on the Norfolk Southern tracks for the next about year. Okay. And today I sat in a meeting, the State Freight Advisory Board, and it was announced that starting on Monday of next week.
On Monday
of next week, which is what the
4 days?
Yeah. The first double stack train for CSX is going to leave Seagirt Terminal.
What? I thought that wasn't happening until the tunnel got done.
So CSX and Norfolk Southern have entered into an agreement that allows a shareage of their track around the tunnel. So here's what's happened.
Okay. So before I was a ship geek, I was a railroad geek.
Okay.
Right? So I still follow some stuff.
Sure.
And I knew about the agreement. So that's, I thought, and if you read into it, it's real small sections of track, right? It's just like a mile or two so that they can get from their track to Norfolk Southern and I think back, right? So that they can go north, I think. But I didn't know they were doing that now.
Well, here's what's happened. Everything north of the tunnel. So it's not just the Howard Street Tunnel that needs to be addressed. It's the whole corridor from Philly to DC.
Right. And either you need to make those little bridges taller, or you need to make the track lower. And nobody talks about that. Everybody just talks about the big thing in the center of the city, right? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So this project has progressed to the point where everything north of the tunnel is now fixed and ready to go. So
wow.
Everything north of Maryland is all ready to go. Okay. Well, part of the problem with it was supposed to, or the original plan for the Howard Street Tunnel was going to take about I believe we're
saving a year or something, right?
Yeah, it was like it was about 2 years that they were going to have to do this single track and special schedule to allow the trains to come through, but take it offline. And they've said that we're not going to do this. What this agreement does with Norfolk Southern is allow this track share usage to bypass the tunnel so that they can shut the tunnel down for about 9 months and just do all the work and get it done. So this is actually going to speed the whole Howard Street Tunnel project up. They're saying that double stack with the Howard Street Tunnel will be going live the end of 2025. So almost a full year faster than what was originally planned.
That's awesome. And I think if you look into that agreement, it's quite minimal. It's only like what, 1 or 2 trains each way a day or something, or 1 or 2 in the morning and 1 or 2 at night. I mean, it's not a lot, but if it's enough to start and make it happen, that's cool. I had no idea that it was going to happen, that they were going to run it north before the tunnel was. I had no idea.
So I think there was really some pressure to realize, hey, look, we've got to speed this thing up. I wonder if there was some connectivity to, okay, well, if we're in such a congestive state right this minute with the Key Bridge collapse and everybody else's track, why not? Let's just make it all happen right this minute. So as soon as these projects get, the faster we get these projects done, the sooner they get back online, the quicker we can start moving some congestion out of here. For every container you put on a rail car, it's 1 container off of the highway. Let's start loading this train up as much as we possibly can. Get us some relief out on the highway system. I don't know if that's part of it. They didn't really discuss that, but there was a lot of excitement about that first train that's going to be rolling out of here on Monday.
Wow, I bet.
There was an announcement of a federal grant that Dundalk Marine Terminal is receiving.
Right.
So U.S. Department of Transportation awarded $30.9 million for infrastructure improvements at Dundalk Marine Terminal. This is primarily for extensive reconstruction at berth number 11. Replaces almost 600 feet of decking and upgrades pilings and substructures and addresses stormwater drainage. So they are starting to look at some of the sea level rise related issues and the terminal and the wharf.
And I guess eventually they're going to go all the way around the whole terminal. I know they already did 1, 2, 3, and 4 or something on the opposite side.
Yeah, I know some of it's been done. That's correct. They're also looking at some new installations of infrastructure, some mooring bollards, some pneumatic fenders, and I'm curious to see what the
that's interesting,
and some other flood barriers. So they know that there's some improvements that need to be made. This is coming out of the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America grant program, the NFA. Interestingly enough, in that award, there's also another $7.5 million for Curtis Creek Drawbridge rehabilitation on 95. So think about what's happening there. Who all is going over that drawbridge right this minute? Not too many people. It's time to go and get the work done on the Curtis Creek Bridge. While the Key Bridge is down.
So did it specifically say a roadway?
The grant announced the press release that I read was specific to the Curtis. It said specifically for Curtis Creek Drawbridge rehabilitation on the Beltway on 6.
Oh, it did say on the Beltway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I missed.
Wasn't the smaller one? This article clearly said it was for the Beltway Bridge.
Oh, okay. Because I totally missed the Beltway. Yeah. My head went right to because there's a train bridge over there.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's not that one either. No.
Right. I don't know why I assumed that, and I didn't see the Beltway comment. Okay, cool.
So those are 2 big announcements that I came across this past day or so.
You want to talk about some events?
Yeah, we do have some events. So first, there's a couple of other events. We have the Coast Guard announced that the Coast Guard station in Annapolis is going to hold a trunk or treat and open house event. So if you're if you're in the Annapolis area, you got kids want to go get some free candy. You want to go learn about what's happening at the Annapolis Coast Guard Station on Saturday, October the 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can go and participate in that. If you Google search U.S. Coast Guard Annapolis trick or treat, you're going to be able to find the information on that. So that's coming up. That's coming up this Saturday. You heard from the Sail Baltimore folks today on the podcast. They have their Portside party fundraiser on November the 14th. The other big thing that's coming up is I know we're hadn't even gotten to Halloween or Thanksgiving, but Trade Point Atlantic announced that their annual star lighting ceremony will happen on Tuesday, December the 3rd at 5 p.m. So the big Bethlehem star that they have up on the water tower, so that's going to happen. So we're starting to see some events. I'm going to try to keep all those events together and let everybody know about them. We also need to make sure we remember that John W. Brown is having their ghost ship weekend again this weekend. So you're starting to get down to the last 2 weekends. We've got this weekend and then the following weekend, the one right after Halloween, that you can still go to.
Oh, cool. Oh, so right.
If you want to participate in that, I've been seeing a lot of social media posts, a lot of excitement and good times with that. ssjohnwbrown.org and go to the tickets button and you can purchase your tickets for that. So.
Gotcha. Cool. So speaking of scary ships, let me show you this picture. Let me see if I can. So check this guy out. So these are ships. These are bulkers that come to town from the Nordic Company, or that they used to be called the Nordic Company.
Yeah.
And so they paint these teeth on the front of them. So, and they're in town. They're in town now. Right. Now, it's not these two Nordic ships. These are actually some old pictures from when they were both together at the Curtis Bay Coal Terminal.
Okay.
Some time ago. And then this time, one was at Curtis Bay and one was at Consul across the way. But I thought, we're going to talk about ghost ship and scary stuff. Look at these guys. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd want to see this coming at you when you're in a kayak or something.
Right. Well, you gave me some homework on this, so I learned a whole bunch about who these ships are.
Here's another.
Yep, there you go. That's a good picture of them. There was some pictures that I found online where it was just straight head on and with the wide mouth on it.
Right.
But these ships are ice class post Panamax dry bulk vessels. Okay, so post Panamax means they are they are large enough to go through the third channel in the Panama Canal. They handle a dry bulk, but these are icebreaker ships. So the front end of these ships are designed to be able to transient through the Arctic, carrying bulk materials. And so there's a lot of, you think about this as, Scandinavian, Russian areas up in the Arctic. There's a lot of ice that has to be broken. You're either bringing an ice ship in, or you build a vessel that's capable of breaking ice as it navigates through the water.
Right.
You asked me if there was any meaning behind the smile. And I tried extremely.
Gosh, and I've even recruited other people today to try to dig it. I mean, there's nothing. It's nowhere. The
only thing that I can figure out is I did see a picture of one of these ships in the Arctic breaking the ice, and it was fully loaded. And when it's fully loaded, the ship looks like it's munching the ice as it's coming through the water, breaking the ice up. So I'm going to assume until we get some other verification is that it's just a fun nod to the type of ship that it is. And if anybody looks from afar, looks like that the ship is eating the ice that it's breaking up as it's going along. So
right.
I'm gonna that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it until somebody corrects me.
All right, let me see if I can grab this picture real quick. I just grabbed this off of our Facebook group.
But while you are pulling this up, there you go. There's the wide angle shot there.
Right. So this is at console, loaded before it left today.
Gotcha.
And you can see the water is.
It's right there. The water line's right there.
Right
on the
there.
bow.
Yeah.
So I guess as it's going down to Chesapeake Bay, it's going to be sucking up all of our crabs and eating the crabs. We don't have any ice right now, so I couldn't pull an ice joke out of that one. These ships are operated by Pangea Logistics Solutions in a partnership with Nordic Bulk Holdings. They actually just recently, Pangea purchased a terminal in Baltimore. It's the old Yara terminal right there. Yeah, right. Yeah, and this was June of 2023 is when they bought that terminal from T. Parker Host in an all-cash transaction, is what the press release said.
Really?
Yeah. So they are.
So that's the one. That's the one that if we're talking about a pier, the Yara Pier, that's the one at Hawkins Point, right next to the Key Bridge.
That's correct. But they also have vessel services where they also handle other types of bulk products, and in this case, it's coal. In a number of the other cases on the company's website, they a lot of metals, a lot of those types of bulk products.
Yeah, I know there was one story where, and I forget, was it bauxite?
Yes.
So they were bringing bauxite in at Hawkins Point, offloading it, putting it onto rail cars, and shipping it by train to New York, which seems crazy. Inefficient.
It could be that there aren't terminals that can handle the product properly, and it may be that we're set up here to be able to do that. I mean, there may be situations like that where it's just terminal capability, or maybe there's some type of cost agreement where it's cheaper to bring it into a terminal here, and the difference in the cost is offset by the rail.
All those different market forces. Correct. So here's another shot of this is the same ship in the channel right by the old A pier for the Key Bridge on the live stream camera today as it was leaving.
Cool.
Yeah. Those are some neat looking ships.
I feel like the ship should be making like a motorboat noise.
Well, I'm sure if you were close enough to it.
Touche. Fair enough. I walked into that one. All right, so that's the information on the ships with the smile on it. They I did see a post that the company put that says "Keep smiling" or something. So that's,
All right, I think that's all we got for today, huh?
I do have one quick nugget.
All right,
for can we do Port of Baltimore history?
Sure.
I came across this. I know this is just a couple of days in the past, but on October 17th, 1829, the Baltimore and Delaware Canal was first opened for commercial use.
Oh, the C&D Canal, maybe.
The C&D Canal. What did I say?
Baltimore and something.
Yeah, I meant the Chesapeake and Delaware.
Okay.
The C&D Canal, yes.
Right, and then back then it wasn't a level canal. It had locks.
Locks, yeah.
Right. Way after that they leveled it out, so it's just like you're sailing on a river without locks.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The idea for the canal was first proposed in the 1600s. So that it was a way for sailing ships in the ports in the Northeast to be able to get to Baltimore without having to go all the way down and come back up. That journey is about 300 miles. The canal cut the trip to just 14 miles. So you can see what the importance and the impact there of the C&D Canal is.
Right.
So
cool.
That's, 1829 is when it first opened for commercial use.
And I'm pretty sure that we have that in our calendar. So we're going to be selling for 2025 wall calendars. We are going to be selling a Key Bridge calendar.
Cool.
So nothing but great shots of the Key Bridge, that you'll have forever. So if you want one, you can order it on the website. We've got our QR codes at, the website, Baltimore shipwatchers.com, and there is a merch tab. Go on there, you'll see the picture of the calendar, you'll see our QR codes, and even if you just want to send it to PayPal. This is our biggest fundraiser. So if you would like one, they are $35 including shipping. I'm trying to find a picture of the Key Bridge count if there's one in here. I didn't do a Key Bridge picture in 2023. Well, that's crazy. Anyway.
Right. So I think that's about it.
Yeah. I think we set a new record, dude.
That's all right.
All right. You want to just send us out?
Well, tell them where you can find us all real quick.
All right. Okay. So we're Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. You can find us on our Facebook group, which has almost 16,000 members. You will find us on YouTube, Twix, shout out Amy Lawrence, and Instagram as Balto Ches.
And on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is late.
It is.
I think I might be ready for bed now. All right. It's all good.
You're getting delirious.
It's been a day,
I got you. All right. Are we going to do a blooper reel? No, I don't think we. No.
I'm collecting them through all of the episodes, so we'll put a good one together. So.
Oh, okay. That'd be hilarious.
All right, everybody. Let's count it off. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Happy ship watching. The one last week was good.
I know, it sounded great, and
we freaking nailed it. I mean, how did that happen? I don't.
Maybe we cut that clip and just use that every time.
Right, we keep saying that. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.
You do the same. Everybody have a good week. Thanks.